Hello everyone, my name is Lowko and welcome to a best of 5 series of top level StarCraft 2. What I've got for you today is a Protoss versus Zerg from the Esports World Cup, the StarCraft 2 World Championships, where in game number 1 we find ourselves on good old post youth. We have a 12 pool opener from the Zerg? It's got an extractor trick, I guess? Yeah. Alright, this is right from the get-go, a bit of a crazy build. Spotting right here in the bottom left-hand corner in game number 1. Playing with the blue Zerg drones, we have none other than Solar. His opponent in the opposite corner with the red Protoss pieces, he goes by the name of Hero. It's going to work. Yeah, so Hero, as I've mentioned in previous videos already, he hasn't really been playing in a lot of these smaller online tournaments in order to prepare for the StarCraft 2 World Championships. Now, clearly, Solar knows that something here is not quite right in the way that Hero is playing, because there's no probe scout. Hero decides to open up with a pylon on the high ground together with a gateway. He's gonna follow this up with a nexus pretty quickly. Nothing all too surprising there. This would be a very easy strategy to stop from the Zerg. So this is a Zergling rush. He'll probably make about 12 of those bad boys. 12 is usually the upper limit. 12 pools, though, fall flat on their faces when the Protoss player, well, sees it coming. In this particular instance, I don't think Hero is going to see anything. It's a pylon into a nexus, into eventually a cyber core. Normally, Zerg players open up with a very fast expansion as their very first structure. Solar does have one of those coming, but these links, well, they're gonna show up completely unscouted. I don't really know exactly what Hero can do about it. Here we go. Zerglings will indeed now just run into the base. If he kills the pylon, I think he wins the game. Probes are pulled away from their mineral line. Ooh, right from the start. Cheeky little bit of mineral control there by Hero, using the mineral shifting from those probes. When you select workers and you right-click them onto a mineral field, they can phase through other units. 3 probes? 4 probes? Can he get one more? Bunch of lost mining time as well, but this is not the end of the world. Well managed here, actually, by Hero. Very good crisis management. Considering he didn't have anything, this could have worked out absolutely terribly. Can you get one more? One more probe? Not quite. Okay. Zerg in the meantime, by the way, making drones. We have another worker going down to the low ground. Is he going to go for the gold? No, he's going to be going for the expansion right over here. Okay, sentry on the back of this right here for Hero. 10 Zerglings for 4 probes. A little bit of lost mining time as well, but obviously Zerg also slows down their own strategy in order to go for this build. I don't think it's the end of the world right here for Hero at all. No. Maybe this proves once again that probe scouting is not worth it. We've seen it in a lot of the matchups lately. Against both Terran as well as Zerg, Protoss players have not always been worker scouting anymore, and it seems like it may very well be the right call. Keep in mind that this Nexus was real quick, so Hero should be able to catch up just fine. Now, it's a sentry follow-up, so Stalker into a sentry. Okay, we're gonna use the hallucination ability to get high ground vision and to kill the Overlord that was hiding on top of that pillar. And then on the back of this, it's a Stargate. Now, I've been really liking what Hero is up to lately. He's been going for some crazy builds, and he's clearly been working on something fresh. This is weird. What are we gonna do? It's just an Oracle. Okay, normally in a standard game, the Oracle will spawn at about the 4-minute mark. It will get to the other side of the map at about 4.5 minutes. In this particular instance, this Oracle is incredibly late, but then at the same time, Solar has seen a Stalker, he's seen a Sentry, he's gonna make the assumption that this is a Twilight Council or, for example, a Robo Facility opener. I don't think the Zerg player is gonna think that this is a Stargate follow-up because it just doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. No Spore Crawler setup. He obviously does have a bunch of Queens, 3 of them in total right now. This Oracle, it's almost like a bit of an anti-timing. Oh my. Fleet Beacon on the back of this together with a second Stargate. Alright, it's almost like a bit of an anti-timing, because Zerg will not expect an Oracle to swoop in like a minute later than it's supposed to. Maybe not quite a minute, but quite a bit later than it's usually gonna show up on the other side of the map. 2 workers, it's gonna force out a bunch of Spore Crawlers. The third one right over there, second Stargate together with a Fleet Beacon in the meantime. Gonna get some more. This certainly is worthwhile. In the meantime, Solar is sending Zerglings across the map because normally 3:45 is the timing for the third Nexus. We're now 5 minutes into this. Solar sees that there's no third base. He's scouting around the map as well with one of those Zerglings, and he's looking everywhere to see if there's maybe a hidden expansion. What this is actually on the back it is right now, though, is a Tempest build? So, Stalker first, Scoutless Opener, Stalker into Sentry, into very delayed Oracle, into then a second Stargate together with a Fleet Beacon. Alright. Tectonic Destabilizers is coming up. That's the Tempest upgrade that allows that unit to deal double damage to structures. Tempests are amazing if you get about 5 of them. When you get to 5, you can one-shot practically every StarCraft 2 unit. So you just sort of point your long-range weapons to whatever you want to kill and it works out. Don't show them, hero! What? He did this as well in another game recently where he like... Are we gonna send them straight across? That surprises me. I feel like... You're gonna spoil the surprise. This is like showing your Christmas gifts on like, I don't know, December 19th. Why do we... Should we not wait another week or so? Okay, well, I guess the Oracle has been clearing the way. That's what this Oracle is doing too. It's been leading a path. It's been carving a path of vision around. And I guess we're gonna just start picking off whatever we can. Are we gonna go after drones? What exactly is the goal with these Tempest here? Obviously, this expansion is very exposed. The upgrade is not yet done. That's going to double the upgrade, or the damage rather. Another Tempest has popped out. Spire starts up immediately, so that's why I was thinking maybe not showing the Tempest until a little bit later into the game. Because if the Spire finishes and Zerg can make like, I don't know, 10 Corruptors or so, life is going to be really, really good for the Zerg player, and that... Well, Tempest transition is going to do very little. You can't really go into carriers at that point either. It's Void Rays right now on the back of this. Dude, if this wasn't such a big tournament, I would have assumed that Hero is trolling a little bit, or at least experimenting with something new. But considering he's playing this in a $1 million event, he believes that this is the way to go. You know what? All of this makes a lot of sense. Problem is, Zerg can't attack here. That Void Ray is going to be able to kill a lot of Zerg stuff. These Protoss units will stay alive for ages with shield battery overcharges and all that. Is he going to go after another base? He's got the revelation of that Oracle, that delayed Oracle, by the way. It dove real deep and it took a lot of damage. Now 5 Tempests, look at that. They're going to start one-shotting those queens. As long as those shots are in sync, this is going to work out the charm. Yeah, no, you can make sport crawlers, but it doesn't matter. And then on the back of this, we already have a bunch of Void Rays. Void Rays deal bonus damage against armored. Corruptors are armored. So this is a... Well, I mean, he's not making that many Void Rays. He's only got 2. This is a very clever set of plays, though, here from Hero, who has now successfully sniped a whole bunch of queens, as well as 2 expansions from the Zerg, while only losing 5 probes. If it wasn't for the 12 pool, this would have been a flawless game so far for Hero. He couldn't really defend against that very first Zergling flood at the very beginning of the game without losing a single worker, right? So this has been an exceptionally nice game so far here from the Protoss player, and I really think he's reinventing the way that Protoss is meant to be played. For years now, everybody sort of assumes that Protoss needs to just, you know, play those strategies where you catch the opponent off guard, where you're like, haha, gotcha now, silly Zerg and Terran. But maybe that's not even true. Okay, so what are we gonna do now? Honestly, what are we gonna do as Zerg? So Solar's making a bunch of units. He wants to probably go for like a Ravager Link Corruptor attack. He can bring the queens in as well. Normally, that's a really powerful set of units that you can use against the Skytoss and a ground-based army for the Protoss, but I'm not 100% convinced that that's going to work. Gold base is coming up right now for the Protoss player too. He's continuously scouting using that sentry that he made earlier. He did get a couple of reinforcements as well, but anyways, that Hero Oracle finally fell. Blink is done though, so yeah, you're not going to be able to just use caustic spray on all of the structures. Hero will be more than happy to go into Stalkers. This is like a game of chess where Solar is looking like 3 moves ahead of time, but Hero has already seen the future, you know? Like he is calculating 8 moves ahead of what the Zerg is doing. The only problem is that sometimes you can be very strategic, but when your opponent, well, hits you in the face. What is the quote again from Mike Tyson? Everybody's got a plan until, well, Ravagers hit you in the face? It's something like that. Anyways, you can get really fancy, and sometimes you can get a little bit overly creative. You still have to hold the Zerg swarm. So here we go. Solar has decided to bring his entire army across. This is still pretty much 200 supply worth of Zerg. It's going to hit very hard. Corrosive Biles are amazing. We've already seen Hero lose a lot of stuff to Biles in the past in this same tournament. Blink forward. Sonic Storm is not yet done. We're 5 seconds away. When that finishes, suddenly there's going to be a lot of extra damage. Corruptors are getting a lot of work done. There's finally that storm. All right. I wouldn't have minded a little bit more of a hurry on that Psionic Storm upgrade. Looking at the progression in the game, he did get it pretty quick. But I think if we could have had it like 20 seconds earlier or so. Don't know if that's possible. I'm sure my hero did the math, but if we would have had it slightly earlier, I think this hold would have been a lot more manageable. I'm still liking this position though for hero quite a bit. Corruptors in the meantime, well, there's no more Tempest to kill, so they're gonna just start puking on whatever they can. Okay, it's nice concave right here for Solar though, who has been rebuilding his economy. Main problem here for the Zerg is that he doesn't really have any tech. So it's just Roach Ravager Zergling. There's no Hive, there's no Hydras, there's no Lurkers, there's no Brute Lords. This is kind of what we're gonna get, right? Like, he can transition out of this, but he hasn't done enough damage yet to really make that call. Still though, Roach Ravager hits really, really hard. In the meantime, Hero is thinking, this is a confidence move right over here. He's thinking about expending. I don't think we want to do that just yet, Hero. We probably want to hold this first, because this is for all intents and purposes an all-in right now from the Zerg player. There is another base coming up here on the left side of the map of for Solar as well. Dark Shrine? I think Dark Shrine actually is a really cool play as well. This is not a type of game where, yeah, we're gonna have a lot of detection. Solar is thinking ahead as well though, so he's realized that this is certainly a possibility. Something Hero really likes to do. Also, +3 attack started up during all of this. Aggressive blink forward. I'm wondering if Hero is getting a little bit ahead of himself. Very aggressive upgrading. Very aggressive researching. Very aggressive expending. This man is doing a little bit of everything while, you know, holding on with just his fingertips on the side of the cliff. I think he'll probably be okay though. That is a very strange battery overcharge. Ooh, circling run by attempted. Hero known as a dirty F2 attack mover, right? He's an all army hotkey user, 100%. Just like me, except when Hero does it, it looks a lot more efficient. He's continuing the Tempest production again. That's curious. Well, I guess all of the Corruptors have died. Yeah, the Corruptors are gone because they were busy trying to take down structures. There weren't any, there weren't any flying units anymore, so Solar figured he doesn't need those units anymore, and Tempest once more begin. Looks like one of them will get biled down, but nice little play right here from Hero. Alrighty. A Hydra Den starts up its research. +3, +2, just about to finish up for the Protoss player. Solar still just doing as much damage as possible though, and he is doing a great job. Really just trying to make a lot of stuff here. Corrosive Biles is the main... Oh my god, it works! Jeez! Alright, well that's unfortunate. Fortunate for Hero anyways. More Corrosive Biles are landing where they really shouldn't be. Hero is thinking about going around the site. He's now fighting on creep, which is a little ambitious. A lot of Dark Templar are being used as like offensive units. They're just sniping and skirmishing wherever they can, joining the Zealots to just charge at whatever's possible. Now Hero is cutting off the retreat path. Couple High Templar coming in from the flank. Ay, 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 ay. What a... I feel like this is one of those strategies that needs a little bit more time in the oven, but it's already an amazing recipe. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think this is quite the limit yet for what is possible with what Hero is doing. But it's already looking amazing. We could do a little bit more fine-tuning, and I think it would look a lot tidier. Ultimately, though, He is winning against the Zerg here using Zergy strategies. While all of this aggression has been going on, Hero's had the superior economy. He's had the superior upgrades. Those are normally the ways that Zerg wins in this matchup, right? Zerg tries to get a bigger economy and then they swarm all over the map. Whilst that engagement was happening, whilst we were fighting for like 5 minutes, or at least that's what it felt like, look at this. We've had a superior trait right there for the Protoss player, and then more importantly, economically, he's been ahead this entire time. So you end up with more stuff in the long run. It's like a role reversal in this matchup here. Very cool, very cool. I'm glad this is a best of 5. I want to see a bunch more games. Zealots go around the map. We have a bit of a run by over on the right side. Looks like Hero finally has been caught off guard. So what's really interesting, right, is that, well, GG is cold. We've had 16 minutes of Protoss versus Zerg, and not a single robo facility was made. So Hero never got rid of any of that creep, other than, I guess, with the revelation from the Oracle. Next up, we find ourselves on Oceanborn. Now, apparently Hero didn't really enjoy the 12 pool all too much, as this time around he is going to send a probe scout in. That being said though, Solar has already managed to get away with a 16 supply hatch on the low ground. All of this is very curious to me, right? So, I don't want to fanboy all too much over every single decision that Hero is making, because I've been doing that for the majority of this video already, but most Protoss build orders out there, they focus on trying to be as annoying to the Zerg player as possible, right? So usually it starts off, pylon on the low ground, instant scout on the other side of the map to try and block that hatchery from coming up at the preferred time, right? That's not what Hero does. Hero decides to go pylon in the wall off. Already a little bit funky. Normally that goes right over here. And then he scouted when he put down the gateway. So this probe over here is the one that planted the gateway down. A little bit weird. Don't want to look into it all too much. But it certainly does look like a very confident play. Now, if you're enjoying this series so far, please take the 1 second that it takes to hit the like button down below. I know it's a little annoying, but it really does help. If you don't enjoy this series, I guess you can also hit the dislike button, guilt-free, but I would prefer you hit the like button instead. And while you're at it, if you really enjoy the videos, I try to upload pretty much every single day. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so you get notified as soon as new videos go live. YouTube also wants me to ask you to hit the notification bell. You can do that if you want to. Yeah, I mean, it would be nice. That way you get a little push notification on your phone, for example, that a new video goes live, which, like I said, is pretty much every single day. So what are we gonna do this time around, Hero? It's just a good old, okay, Adept into Stargate. Fair enough. Double Adept. Nothing all too surprising there. Maybe we're just gonna open up, quote-unquote, normal this time around. One thing Hero has been doing quite a bit, though, with the Stargate builds that I've seen him play in this tournament so far, is go Void Ray first. Okay, not this time around. It's gonna be an Oracle. The Void Ray is an interesting follow-up, mostly because it denies all of the scouting from the Zerg, and it really allows Protoss to get away with a lot of shenanigans. I don't think it's necessarily the best build, but it's certainly... yeah, it's a cool way to play. It's very obvious that Hero has a very deep understanding of how Zerg functions, as he does commit over here. Alright. He knows exactly what the Zerg player is thinking at any moment of the game, and he's using that information against them. So far, though, I don't really think I like this opener here as much for Hero. Even though it's very normal, he hasn't really achieved too much. And I've seen countless games where if you don't deal damage early on, you will find yourself in a lot of trouble. Drones are gonna run away. This is something that Solar will play against all of the time. 2 drones so far, a single Adept going down, and then also this much damage on the Oracle. It is all a little bit suboptimal. There is a second Oracle. It may very well be needed at home for base defense. Yeah. Okay, so this is a very classical opener for Protoss. This is what we've been seeing pretty much every single day, right? This is what we've been seeing every single day for the last couple of years. The problem with this style, quote-unquote problem, is that it's very momentum-based. So you want to deal some damage, and then deal more damage, and then deal even more damage, and then your timing attack ultimately kills the opponent. Right? And already the tempo is not really there. Excellent defense here from Solar. He's looking to get a kill on one of those Oracles. Fair enough. But so far, this has been really well handled here by the Zerg. He's gonna go into an evolution chamber right now. I'm expecting a lair within the next 10 seconds. And then also a roach warren. Usually right about right now is when we will see the lair. Right now. Okay. Right now. Right now. Okay, fine. You were supposed to make me look smart. Are we gonna go upgrade first? No. We're just trying to play survival for the time being. Yeah, it's gonna be +1 melee first. It's a relatively late lair in that particular instance, but that's okay. There are a bunch of upgrades that are really important for the Zerg on lair, like at lair tech, but generally speaking, the early game from Protoss is defendable with just your most basic units. A little surprising though, because he doesn't know what the follow-up here from Hero is going to be. And, okay, it's Banelings too. Interesting. It's a little surprising, mostly because if this would have been like a Glaive Adept follow-up, so he's now seen some additional Stalkers. And I think that's gonna spoil the surprise that it is indeed a Blink follow-up. But if this would have been a Glaive Adept follow-up, it could have been quite difficult for the Zerg player to hold this, because +1 melee would not be done in time. Banelings are also very costly at this point in the game. You can only make like maybe 6, 7, 8 or so. So against large numbers of Adepts, it really doesn't do much. Don't know if I love this follow-up all too much from Solar, but it's fine. The creep threat? Okay, really needs to be out a little bit further, because Protoss is ready to start dealing some damage. Now, do we have a... No, we don't have a Robo facility. Hero is just hating Robo facilities here. Now, he certainly does not hate Robo facilities in general, because he's been playing a lot of even Disruptor drops and a lot of variety in that department, but we're gonna go Templar Archives here before Robo. That does mean that these Stalkers cannot be reinforced very easily, so they can be surrounded super quickly. This should be an easy hold with Lynx for now, especially with +1 finishing up. Are we gonna attempt a Baneling move, or do we just play the Banelings? Okay, yep, nicely done here by Solar. I think we're just doing it as a precaution against anything that the opponent could be throwing at us. Curious follow-up here from Solar, by the way. So he's going very quick +1 melee. That upgrade is now done. Then he went into a lair eventually. He's basically playing Mass Zergling. And he's gonna go straight into what seems to be a Hive. +2 melee starts up. Second evolution chamber too. Yeah, he is just looking to swarm the map. Already all the way up to 76 drones. There is indeed the Hive. Baneling speed. I think it has a lot of potential, so Solar is cutting a lot of corners here. This could, for example, be him rushing into Ultralisks. It's got a lot of potential, but it's also quite a vulnerable play. Because if Protoss hits a nice timing, you're gonna find yourself in that transitionary moment, right? Where you're trying to transition from like an early game army straight into a late game army. It has potential, but you need to buy a certain amount of time in order to justify all of it. So far, so good, though, here. For Solar, who stays alive and who's got a bunch of Banelings now on the other side of the map. Fourth Nexus coming up at the 12 o'clock position. There's not a ton of units here available yet for Protoss. He's really just mostly got Stalkers. It's 17 Stalkers, that's it. A couple High Templar are throwing water balloons at a Zergling there. Centrifugal Hooks, though, is now done. The roly-poly upgrade. There they go. Now, this could get slightly awkward, because there's not that many probes yet. Hero sees this coming in from a mile away. He does have Storm. He's not even using it. Oh, he's preserved all the Storms. Okay. Nicely done so far by Hero. Can he hold on the left side of this engagement, too? Once more, a fight on the right. Banelings are hunting it down, but he does morph in Archons. Just barely in the nick of time. There's still plenty of Templar available with Scythe Storms as well on the left. So I don't think this is really going to deal much damage. Shield Battery Overcharge will save the Archon, even though it's dancing in the Storm. All is good. All is good right here for Protoss. And there is indeed the Ultralisk Cavern. Now, the Ultralisk Cavern is building at the same time as we have a Fleet Beacon, together with a second Stargate. Ultras are unironically good against Skytos, even though they can't kill him. Mostly because of the armor upgrades. So if you go chitinous plating, if you go into the +2 and then straight +3, there is a lot of potential with ultras, because they just kill everything on the ground. There's a single robo facility. He has not really been using it for much. Okay, I was gonna say, you need immortals in order to counter ultralisks, and I think Hero, despite not scouting it, is sniffing out that this is all a little bit fishy. He hasn't seen the ultralisk cavern, but he realizes that something is a little off. It's just Zerglings and Banelings, 10 minutes into the game. I think the second robo facility and just the production here on the immortals already is a great idea. Like, you don't make immortals against Zergling Baneling, okay? It doesn't make sense. Even though Hero doesn't know what he's going up against, he's sniffing out that something is not quite right. So, carrier's coming up. A second Forge is building. This is triple Stargate, by the way. Hero has been doing a phenomenal job guarding his mineral line so far. Very frequently do we see a bunch of Zerglings and Banelings eventually slick through the cracks, but not quite yet. I tried to say slip and sneak at the same time. Made a new word. Alright, we've got ourselves a lot of losses so far on the Zerg side, but at the same time, there's also a ton of drones. Here's the big boys. The Immortals are gonna be coming out 2 at a time. Oracle's still flying around the map. Hero's economy, though, is booming. Not bad. Mama ship, I like it. Here's the Ultras, leading the charge for the Banelings to roll in. Are there still enough storms? There's enough storms. Ultras are gonna get absolutely destroyed over here. They're trying to join up with the Zerglings and the Banelings. A little bit of move commanding right there. Sadly for Solar, who's hunting down a mineral line, finally finds a bunch of probes, but it's only 5 or 6. Okay, 7 in the end. That was by no means worth it. Look at that. Army-sized nosedive over here for Solar. He's gonna be able to replenish this, but the problem is now we're in that moment where Zerg needs to go from a fast-moving army into one that is a lot more sustainable. So he throws up a Spire, fair enough. You need like 20 Corruptors here, all in one go. And this is not really the type of opener where Solar is gonna have a ton of money to just go around, right? Like, saving up at this point is tough. Zergling Ultra Baneling is meant to be trading all the time. You want to try and keep the attack going, but if you keep the attack going, you can't really make any Corruptors, because you can't reinforce with that if you don't have the resources for it. He knows it though. Solar at this point definitely knows that the opposing player's army is growing. So the carrier numbers are gonna go up, the immortal numbers are gonna go up, and usually, this is the type of situation where at some point everything goes horribly wrong for Zerg. He's getting Zergling run-bys in right now, that's nice and all. Good SimCity here from Hero, making it so that only a single Stalker can be attacked in that corridor. Ultras here at the front trying their very best. Even the Queens have joined in the fray. I love the Queens here because obviously they can transfuse the Ultras. Well, practically make them immortal. Problem is that there are Immortals already out in the battlefield and they're gonna make it a little tricky. Okay. Resources lost twice. This is telling you a lot of the story. Maybe Solar has had a nice economy, but he's been losing way more stuff than the Protoss. Revelation right here from those oracles is going to reveal all of those creep tumors. And Hero is going to start carving a path through all of that creep. Now building another nexus here on the left side of the map. Very cool how Hero is just playing straight up macro games, right? Like the previous game was a bit tricksy, sure. But this is not. This is not even the best early game here for Protoss at all. But this is him just playing straight up better in the mid game. And now he's also not in a, like, I always kind of feel like we have that hurry, right, with Protoss build orders. There's always this, like, constant aggression and constant, like, sharp execution that is looked for. And obviously the execution here is still sharp. But it's a sharpness for building up additional tech and building up additional economy, rather than, like, trying to hit a certain timing. Which is a very different approach. This is not a momentum-based Protoss gameplay, right? Like, this is very much so him trying to just play the long game. And ultimately, we end up with a very, very powerful army. All right. It might be time for the Protoss Bulldozer. Now, the Zergling run-bys are annoying, though. The Ultras here are joining in as well. I really like this from Solar, who's been absolutely relentless in that department. Okay, he's finally killing some workers here, too. Hero has now lost, 27 probes. So even though it's only a few here and there, and I think the base defense has been good across the board, it's still nothing amazing. I wonder if Solar should have, for example, a Greater Spire. Or, for example, Lurkers. Because Ultras are not going to cut it. He decides to commit over here. The idea being, I guess, that the Queens can transfuse this. He decides to jump all of these units. Good Storm goes down right here. Hero is losing a lot of his very expensive troops, though. The Swarm is powerful, but the Immortals on the ground are still around. Accidental rep got. Step aside, Eminem. I'll take over from here. Anyways, there's the Greater Spire, and I think we should have had that one a little bit ago, because this counterattack here from Hero is going to require something, right? Like, you can't kill this with a ground-based army. Maybe Zerglings can kind of do the job-ish, but 7 Ultralisks? I don't think Ultras are going to do well at all. I think these Immortals are going to turn their guns to the Ultras, and they will just destroy them in a heartbeat. Couple of Storms still available. One carrier up in the air is going to get sacrificed. Barriers are being triggered. That's something, but look at those Ultras getting absolutely demolished. Woo! Hatchery fell. Hero doesn't even have a prism. The first rule of learning Protoss is that you should never go across the map without an observer and without a prism. But Hero knows the rules, but he's rejecting them and just substituting them with his own. Next up is Site Delta. Solar once again went for a 16 supply hatchery into a gas geyser, a spawning pool. He mined 100 gas, and he's decided to go for metabolic boost. Hero did go for a worker scout once more. So only on post youth is where he decided to skip it in this series so far. And he decided to once more send that probe across with the gateway. It's once more a pylon as part of the wall off, and then once again, a good old Stargate. First Adept is going across. Mostly just to be annoying. Second Adept on the back of this too. It's going to be part of the wall. Zerglings are working on those unbuildable plates. These were once upon a time brought into existence. Specifically for Zerg players, actually. So if you... I get this question all the time. It's like, why are there plates at the bottom of the ramp? So in the very early days of StarCraft 2, we didn't have those. And it turns out, imagine a cannon rush, right? Except of like it being right over here behind the mineral line or right over here in front of the hatchery, it would be right over here at the bottom of the ramp instead. So every single map these days, it features those unbuildable plates at the bottom to make it impossible for Protoss, but also for Terran actually, to go for those super aggressive cheeses. There were some games back in the early days, also from Terran. Let me try and see if I can describe this real quick. So imagine if Zerg is right over here, right? Zerg would open up usually with one base. So we'd see like a gas into a spawning pool. Terran would proxy barracks over here. So say, for example, 2 barracks right over here. And they would build bunkers right over here. And then they would just go into the main base through the bunkers, because you can load them up, obviously, by rallying on top of the bunkers. And then you can just, well, unload on the other side. Back in the early days, there weren't any Ravagers. Ravagers weren't introduced until Heart of the Swarm, if I'm not mistaken. So, yeah, how do you kill 2 bunkers at the bottom of the ramp? You couldn't do anything. There weren't any Swarm hosts. There weren't any Lurkers. A lot of the tools that Zerg players would use for one-base play, they were just impossible. So unbuildable plates were called into the games. I think it was the right call, yeah. Alrighty, so a little bit of aggression here from a Hero. Not losing that Adept this time around is nice. He's going triple Oracle, so nothing all too weird there. He's a little overly ambitious with these Adepts though. Loses one of them, but does kill a bunch of the Zerglings. So I don't think that's all too crazy. What are we going to use here in the Twilight Council? Blink. I was going to say, we don't usually add on gateways yet. Usually we go upgrades first. Okay, it's gonna be Blink together with +1. So all very conventional. Adepts trying to get a little bit of a head start. They are gonna commit. 2 drones, okay. 2 drones for 2 Adepts is the absolute bare minimum. Follow-up from the Zerg is very different from the previous game. So this time around it is about like a 450 or so lair timing together with a Roach Warren on the back of it. No Evolution Chamber, so no +1 melee here. Solar does not want to play that mass Zergling flood once again. I don't think that this is going to be an Ultralisk rush, although it could certainly be. I think Solar is just going to play a bigger macro game this time around. I would like to see him play Hydras into Lurkers, something like that. Which makes it significantly harder for Hero to try and kill the opponent. Yeah, I feel like Ultras were fun, but just not very strong, right? Like, it works well if you have... So in a perfect game, I think Ultra builds never work. Because if Protoss doesn't lose workers, right? If Protoss loses 10 workers with every single attack you send, then the Ultra, Zergling, Baneling-based armies are amazing. But Hero did lose a bunch of probes, but really not that many in the grand scheme of things. If Hero would have lost some with the very first Baneling attack and then some more with the follow-up one, yeah, then Ultras are amazing. Because you can use them to seal the deal, right? To, like, put the nail in the coffin, in the casket. Anyways, it's a really nice way to close out a game. I feel like that's where Ultras are really good. We see that as well against Terran. Like, say for example, Terran has a rough early game and they can't for some reason transition towards Ghosts. Then Ultras are amazing to kill the Terran army. If you're stuck on like Marine Tank, Ultras are super good. But much like against Terran, against Protoss, if you aren't really dominating the game, I always feel Ultras are a weak choice. Anyways, there's a need to Hydra then, together with an Infestation Pit. I think we're probably gonna see a Hive. Hive and then into the... Yep, into the Lurker den. That's gonna allow him a nice little Lurker rush. It's not great for early game aggression, of course. Solar very much so focusing a lot of his resources, well, on building up an economy, but also on building up his tech. This is his 4th base though, so he already has a good number of resources coming in. But Hero is more than happy to face that head on. So once again, this is a Blink opener, after a bunch of Oracles, and then straight into Storm, straight into Charge, straight into some Immortal production this time around too, a little bit quicker than in the previous game. Curious as to why we're going Immortals here already. Maybe he's a little afraid of a Roach Ravager based attack. Obviously Immortals are really good as well, not just against Ultras, but also against Roaches and against Ravagers. Not a bad idea. Okay. So, looks like we are playing a nice little macro game here. Both players are poking at each other. They're trying to deal some damage to the opponent, but all of it is very reasonable. Nothing all too crazy, nothing all too aggressive. Straight Fleet Beacon. Straight Fleet Beacon, straight second Stargate, straight +1. Very cool to see Hero play like this. So normally we don't see those transitions until, well, at least later on into the game, until at least a bunch of fights have happened. Is Hero gonna get overwhelmed by Lurkers now? Because those Lurker upgrades are gonna hit very hard. There's a ranged upgrade and then there's a burrow speed upgrade. Second one is queued up. Solar is gonna have Lurkers, and he's prepared Lurkers here in advance to like deal with, for example, Zealot run-bys and Protoss timing attacks off of 4 bases. But Hero's not doing any pushes. He's once more rushing Tempest. Tempest together with the Mothership. I find it very funny, by the way, how on the internet, I've noticed this in both YouTube comments, but also in Twitch chat and all that, the Mothership is considered to be a bit of a meme. Right? Where people are like, haha, look, the Mothership is dying again. Right? And I've played into that quite a bit myself too. But there is no denying that in this meta that we are seeing right now, the Mothership is played way more than ever. Like, this is Every single game, it seems, that goes past the 10-minute mark, a mama ship is added into the mix. It is a core unit of the Protoss late game these days, and I'm here for it, man. I think it's very cool. Anyways, there's the Nidus network. It's coming up. Lurkers are already going around the map, though. I think if Solar gets into a good position, I mean, I don't know if this is the position, to be honest, but if he gets into a good spot, life is going to be quite amazing. Now, those Tempest, are they enough to buy time? Was this specifically a timing into the fleet beacon, I think so, yeah. I think Hero specifically started all of this up because he knew that this was gonna be a Lurker push from the Zerg. And he figured if I have a bunch of Tempest out, I can't really die. In the meantime though, I like this little attack here from Solar. Trying his very best. Targeting everything down. Some good storms. I don't think these Lurkers are gonna be able to make much room though, yeah. Like, it's a good idea to try and get damage done with these units right now. I mean, Hero donating a bunch of very expensive troops. But ultimately, the Skytles ball here is going to do very well. Bunch of Zerglings are killing the fleet beacon. Now, that's a 300-200 structure. Very expensive structure, so... okay. It's funny because I've been talking about fleet beacon buffs for quite a while now. I think 300-200 for that structure is absurd. I think it should be a little bit cheaper than that, but the way Hero is playing it in this series and in the games I've seen him play lately, it looks really smooth. Another Zergling run by. Hero did not recreate the wall off, so this is going to hurt him. He's already taken care though of one of those Zerg expansions. Obviously, Protoss can't warp in here because he's maxed out, which is a really weird luxury problem. He would like to make some defenses at home to deal with all of these things, but he can only warp in like one zealot at a time whenever it dies. So that's why he's being a bit aggressive here at the front too. He almost needs to lose some units so he can actually defend at home. There we go. A couple zealots end up getting warped in, and they will ultimately get the job done. He does need to remake the fleet beacon. I don't think he realized yet that he has lost it. Anyways. 6 o'clock expansion is gonna certainly fall. Another Zergling run-by is attempted. These are lings with adrenal glands, and they're gonna get +2 here done in just a moment. But Solar's economy already took a bit of a beating. Dark Shrine coming up. Okay, he did remake the... Where's the fleet beacon? Oh, okay, he remade it in the natural expansion. It was probably already on the structures tab, but I didn't see it. Nidus Worm up north. Okay, I like this timing here, or I like this attack here as well from Solar. Trying to kill these structures. The all army hotkeying here from Hero is certainly making it more difficult than it needs to be. He could also just re-wall fully. I don't think he really needs to not be fully walled in here. But anyways. Okay, nice abduction. Time warp does pop. But I think Mama... Woo! No, I think it's Mama... Ooh! I think that's it. Okay, well, she really wanted to die. That was unnecessary there from Hero. He decided to send her back in. I made my own version of the Bohemian Rhapsody. Mama! No, it was Mama! Ooh! Anyways, once more. Tempest upgrade coming up. Solar's been doing a phenomenal job in this series, spreading the creep all over the map, making it annoying here for Hero to really maneuver around. He's not relying, by the way, much on Zealot run-bys, which is also curious. I've seen Hero do a lot of these Zealot run-bys in the past, but then like 20 plus Zealots, you know? If we compare this to, for example, MaxPax does a lot of very big Zealot run-bys. Hero not really doing that many of them somehow. He's just, yeah, using them as like a bit of a mineral dump, I guess. But he's really mostly using his excess minerals on making more expansions. And ultimately that allows him more gas. Look, here we go. That's all minerals here going down. But that works out perfectly for Hero if he can mine additional gas. I love the focus on Tempest, man. I think Tempests are the worst unit in the entire game, but my god, he's making them look real good. Isn't it cool how, like, we haven't had any balance changes to a lot of these units we continuously see being used, right? We haven't had a new map pool update in about a half year now. I think it's about time, by the way. We're probably going to see one in the near future. I wouldn't be too surprised. But anyways, how cool is it that despite the fact that nothing's changing, the meta is not getting stale? We have some battery or some parasitic bombs over here. Vipers being real annoying. Mothership once again out. One pylon to apparently power it all. One pylon to rule them and in, well, the darkness power it all. Stalkers are going to be needed. Mama once more decided to overextend, so she's dead. Solar doing a great job here, catching the opponent off guard and ultimately making this game very manageable for him. I think some of the army movement here from Hero could use improvement, but that's what is cool about this. I'm looking at this game here from the Zerg player, and I'm hard-pressed to find easy improvements for him. Right? But I feel like with the way that Hero is playing a lot of these games, there's a bunch of low-hanging fruits. Why would be, like, why did we go there in the first? I know that there's a hatchery there, but that commitment was too hard. Especially only one pylon here to power it all. Mothership constantly mispositioned. There's a lot of tiny mistakes that could still make this Protoss gameplay significantly better. Not that I could do it, but I can point out little mistakes that I, you know, think the players could be still improving on. Solar has done a great job here, abusing the mistakes that the opponent is making. And he's playing a really nice late game now. He's got one Viper, one Infester. Is it enough to really deal with this this Protoss army? Now there's a lot of Zealots, by the way. I wouldn't be surprised if those are going to join hands and go to the other side of the map. Finally, we have some real observers too. So there's an observer up in the air to provide some detection against all of those creep tumors. Zealots indeed know where the creep is and more importantly where it isn't, so they can find a way across. That being said, there are a bunch of, okay, those lurkers here. This hatchery is an easy kill, but he doesn't know that it's there. Some good abductions once again, man. That one Tempest getting sniped, and well, ultimately the other Tempest apparently also did kill the Viper. That one Viper that's been really annoying. Apparently now though we're gonna get two Vipers on the back of this. Brute Lords together with Lurkers and then a lot of Corruptors up in the air. You love to see it. Some good storms coming up. Okay. Very few carriers throughout this series as well. Like, the carriers are used very differently from the Tempest. Hatchery, by the way, was found. Zealots are gonna try and see if maybe they can do a bit of a flank. Oh yeah, they're gonna just try and run over at the third base. Now he's sending in a lot more Zealots, by the way, mostly because he wants to get rid of them. These are soaking up supply. So you see that? One of the units goes down and immediately he fires up, well, bigger units. The Zealots are nice to have, but they're not really part of the main army. So if you have them, you may as well throw them away when you're maxed. Throw them away while killing a couple hatcheries, though, is nice. Cloaking field activated on the mothership. There she gets abducted once again, but she's already done her duty. Some good storms. Solar trying to chase this army. I mean, the Vipers have been phenomenal. Keep in mind, though, that High Templar can always outrange Vipers. The feedback ability has longer range than the abduction ability. So technically speaking, a lot of those abductions can be prevented. At the same time, I also think I always feel the mothership kind of needs its separate hotkey because the turning radius is so awkward. I feel like it's a little glidey if you don't control it individually. These are complex units, though, for both sides. Very difficult unit compositions to control. Hero trying to buy a bunch of time while counterattacking with all of the Stalkers this time around. I kind of dig the Stalker counterattack because Zerg doesn't have a whole lot of Lings here. There's not a ton of Hydras. We have Lurkers, we have Brute Lords, we have Corruptors, but that doesn't mean that we also have other units on the ground because Solar doesn't have the supply for that. So he is killing a lot of stuff over here, yes. Solar, that is, but he's losing a ton of stuff at home. This Stalker counterattack is brilliant. I love this here from Hero. He may have to pay the price, though, with one of his bases, but he's killing so many of the Zerg units It's now mostly just these troops left over. If the Stalkers get recalled back home, they might be able to pick off all of the rest of these units. While I say that, there's still like 10 Brute Lords. Yeah, 9 Brute Lords in total. They decide to back off when that Nexus falls. Stalkers apparently don't want to be wasting their recall ability, so they're gonna try and see if they can just intercept these units instead. Keep in mind, those Stalkers were walking on creep, so Solar could see them coming in from a mile away. He's trying to reinforce this with as many Zerglings as he can, but he doesn't have the money anymore. Likewise, Hero, though, has also taken a ton of losses. Aggressive blink forward, and with all of those expensive units going down, the Brute Lords are too slow to retreat back home. Turns out it was a one-way trip after all, and that means that Hero wins 3-0 over Solar.